drills. So if it does go off, fire X out the back there, collection point at the top. Like the main session, you're going to check into each of these sessions today. So if you can scan the QR code and register your attendance, and then we will get going in a minute or two. Yeah.
Okay, guys, so we'll get started. So this session should all be about BUCS play, specifically for those teams who compete in weekly league and knockouts. If you're a team who compete in events sort of over on the weekends, doing like futsals and volleyballs, and you play like once or twice a year, then we've got a session about half hour's time. It's going to be better suited for you guys. Okay, so if you fit that category, you can leave that, come back, or you can sit and carry this. So just what we're going to run through. So we're going to talk about BUCS play, how to sign up, getting all students on board for the first fixtures, how fixture admin works, and then what you guys in the room do as captains is different to just standard members. We'll run through team sheets and the changes to team sheets, so we have to complete them on both paper and on BUCS play, and then a little bit of BUCS regs about why we need them. And then we'll finish off with the away trip forms, sort of what you get when you go away and what's expected of you. And a little bit to do with operational procedures as well. Okay, so if you don't know me, I'm Mark. I am the sports development officer, but I primarily do BUCS as the institution administrator. So this means I do all the fixture work for you guys throughout the season, home and away. I organise and do any changes if you guys need them. I arrange all the transport for the away fixtures over the weekends and during the weeks, and that's for cup and knockout fixtures as well. And the result, hopefully, not too many protests or queries that you guys can look through throughout the season. We're pretty good with that. We didn't have any appeals last year, so hopefully the same again. And then if we do get to that far, I'm personally acting as the middleman between you guys and whoever you're playing on Wednesday. So what you'll get from me every week is a fixture email every Friday, the week before your fixtures are due. So the first fixtures are in 2 weeks' time, so you'll get an email from me a week Friday detailing everything about home and away fixtures. Especially with transport requirements and where you're getting picked up and what time for. That's the really important bit. You'll also find the away trip forms. Again, they get left behind at the Burlesque reception on Friday afternoons. You have to pick them up and fill them in before you leave on the Wednesday or the weekend. Every Thursday, you'll get a results email from me, just saying how you get on. And then if you need me, anything urgent, use that phone number. Anything that's not too urgent, use the email address. If there is anything happening on Wednesday or your match days, then ring me, that's fine. So getting into BUCS play. So hopefully all you guys in the room are on BUCS play. If you're not, you have to go to playways.com and it's really simple. Sign in, create an account. The email address has to be the university email address, and you've got quite a lengthy form to fill out, such as what degree you're doing, a bit about background, and when you're expected to graduate. And then once you've done that, you'll be signed up to be able to go and search for your community. So that's where you search your sport. So American football, archery, whatever, just search it in there. You'll then be joined, so in example football, and then you can find your teams under that first blue box to search for Banger. So like netball, I've got 3 teams. If you've got 3 teams, 2 teams, whatever, make sure all your students apply for all your teams. That'll just help in long term so people can chop and change throughout the season. There are certain regs to that, but most of them are pretty fine. You can move up and down. And then once you found your team, just click that join. It's really easy. Then you're part of that team. You'll end up in this applied section, and then the captains can tick and create you into the squad on match days. And then, yeah, once you joined, again, you just have to complete that form. But it's pretty much the same thing, so it should all be populated when you sign up. And then, yeah, it's captains, which you guys should all have captains privileges. You can then decide if they're allowed to be on the team or not. You will get some random people throughout the year trying to apply, so it's quite nice way to just keep everything organised. And then once you've joined the team, you'll get email notification as well. So hopefully you guys have had that email from me saying you've joined, been accepted, and now captain as well. So roles and responsibilities, there are 4 levels to access on BUCS play. So you've got the admins at the top, that is the BUCS staff. You then got myself as the institution administrator, you guys as captains, and then members right at the bottom. So captains are by far and away the most important people I'll deal with all year, because you've got control of your entire team. I don't deal with the team admin, that's all to you guys. So choosing who's on the team sheet week in, week out. And then captain doesn't have to be yourselves as club captains. If you want to have, if you've got team captains, like first team captain, second team captain, they can go on there as well. There's no limit to how many captains you can have. So in theory, you could have 20 captains, but that's not very useful. So yeah, the captains, you guys organise the squad, submit team sheets, and enter the results. Entering results are really important. So this can be either club captain, coach, it can be anyone else who you think fits. You should already be captain, so if you haven't, you can double check now. If you're not, please speak to me ASAP, because fixtures are in 2 weeks, so you need some important information come soon. And then, like I said, yeah, multiple captains in the team. You can add other captains quite simply, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The deadline for all your weekly results. So you play on a Wednesday, you have to submit the result no later than Thursday midday. If you play on the weekend, you have to submit the results by midday on Monday. These are really strict BUCS deadlines. If you miss that, it's not me giving you the penalty, it's BUCS giving you the penalty. The same goes for any protests as well. They do the same deadlines, but again, hopefully there's not too many protests. So squad selection is pretty simple. So we go to our original squad screen. We've just ticked the names on the left, on the right hand side, and then click the arrow pointing to the left. Squad. It's as simple as that. Just because you're in the squad doesn't mean that you're automatically in the matchday squad. You have to do that again differently and put people onto team sheets. Then captain's access. All you have to do is click on the red pencil at the top under the captains, and it's the exact same process. You've got full screen as well. And then how to do it on the app. So I recommend you do everything on the desktop version, but I understand that's not possible necessarily on every Wednesday or match day. So it is possible through the app, but it's not fantastic, and BUCS do admit this. So to sign up and join your team, working from left to right is your home screen. You then search in the community for your team, and then you'll search for Banger, join the teams, and then you'll be presented with a screen on the right hand side. But it's the exact same forms and process, it's just not as smooth. And then team sheets. So every fixture you play has to have a team sheet for a number of reasons. It is very important to be done. So to do it on BUCS Play, again, from that home screen of your squad, you'll be able to go across to fixtures and choose whichever fixture the game is. You'll find all the fixture information, so where it's getting played, kick-off time, any notes. Some venues do have really important notes. So if you're playing, say, football and you're on AstroTurf, you might have to wear a certain sort of stud. That is really important. We have the same down in Trevorth, and you might not be allowed to play for those reasons. You can then make yourself as a member available for fixtures, and then you'll be able to be chosen. And if not, you're under pending. You can still be chosen, but captains can make it quite useful. And then once you're not, you just click onto selected, where no one is for this game, and then just tick them and move them across like we've done before. There is also an option to be able to accept and contest team sheets when you scroll to the fixture information, and we'll go through that in a minute. So if BUCS Play is not working for whatever reason, then you can use the hard copy of the team sheet. So in the packs, you should have collected from the back, there is a hard copy team sheet with there for home fixture use. Every away trip, you will get one as well. We'll run through it. So essentially, it looks like this on the right side. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is just fill out the top in as much detail as you can, but all those details should be available on BUCS Play or Facebook, whatever communication service you use, and then complete whichever side you are, if you're home or away. And then you have to sign it and put a date and time. This has to be before the start of the fixture is on BUCS Play. So if you arrive late, so you've got a 1 o'clock kickoff, you arrive at 12:30, you can't submit this any later than 1 o'clock. It has to be done before fixtures, or else the opposition can't contest that. The opposition captain also needs to sign that. They have to sign it. You've asked them, but they have no choice. And if they don't, you have to ring me, because then I'll ring their students' union and they'll make them sign it. So why do we need team sheets? So they must be completed at every game. Like it was brought in last year, it worked quite well, but they're being quite strict again. So all students must bring proof of identity, so your student cards, so they can be checked up on their team sheet. You must sign off on the team sheet and check the oppositions prior to the fixture starting. And if you have any queries about the eligibility of opposition, just request to see their ID and match them up to their name on the student team sheet. This has to be done before the fixture starting. Also, if you have any queries and want to protest, If you do not submit a team sheet, you automatically lose that right to protest. So that's another important factor. To make sure this gets done, again, we're using the same fine system we used last year. So if you don't complete a team sheet, the first time it's a £10 fine, the second time it's a £20 fine, so on and so forth. Eventually get disciplinary meetings if it gets that far. It's really simple, it takes about 30 seconds on the app, so there is no excuse. BUCS also do a lot of spot checks, and again, if you don't complete it and BUCS fine, you don't complete it, you'll lose points, and your fixture might not stand, and you'll get pretty heavy penalties like £250, the cheapest fine they offer. That comes straight out of your student account, your club account. So always take a paper copy as well, that's why you've got a hard copy now. So if your home team, the app's not working, use that one. And then, like I said, the away trip form, you guys will have done with them anyway. So the sanctions on the left-hand side is the BUCS sanctions. The BUCS will do 4 types of team sheet checks throughout the year. The first one is an initial squad size check. So between now and sort of the end of November, BUCS will check every single team and make sure you've got enough people signed up to start a fixture. So in each of the sports-specific regs, there's a certain number of people that you need to start a fixture. So football have 7, netball have 5, so on and so forth. If you don't meet that number on BUCS play for any of your teams, you'll immediately get 1 point deducted in your league. That's 30 or so points in the season. 1 point can make the difference. They offer spot checks as well. So throughout the season, they'll just randomly select fixtures. I think we had about 5 or 6 of our fixtures last year who were selected. And simply, if you don't submit a team sheet, you'll get sanctions and written warnings. And then lead up to 3-point deduction if you continue failing to do that. If any teams put in a protest or appeal against your team and you do not have a team sheet, again, that's another way BUCS can check. And again, you'll get the same sort of sanctions, so written warnings and point deductions, but these aren't very common because every team playing Northwest we get on pretty well with. So. And then finally, end of season review. So BUCS will want to take a review of every single team and just run numbers against how many fixtures you played. As long as you've met, I think it's 70% of the team sheets, or 60%, sorry, you'll be fine. If you don't, you'll just get straight fine. Then on the right side is the ones that me and AU guys have decided we're going to run again this year. So you have to submit your team sheet before the deadline, which is 1 hour before the fixture starts. And if you don't do this, £10 fine to start, £20 second, £30 third, and then a disciplinary meeting as well. Yeah, it's really simple. You also have to approve the opposition's team sheet before the fixture starts, which is pretty simple to do again. It follows the same sanctions. And then you also have to submit the result on, hopefully on Wednesday afternoon on the way you're coming home, if not before the deadline. I don't want to be rigging any students up for Thursday mornings. It's not ideal. So a best practice guide. So the window to submit a team sheet closes 1 hour before the fixtures usually start. So if you've got that 1 o'clock kickoff, if they have not put a team sheet in before 12 o'clock, then it gets locked and BUCS play and they can't submit a team sheet. If that's the case, let me know. But if you still don't think, oh, we can automatically get a free win, so that's not the case. You should always try and complete that fixture. You might have just forgot, and then you can just write a team handwritten team sheet like you've got. So when you arrive to a game, all the club captain, team captain, whoever's in charge on that day should go and find the opposition's club captain and team captain. You should then arrange a time convenient to both yourselves to go through the team sheets and verify the ID with student cards. This could be before, as soon as you get there. It could just be when you line up before the game starts. You'll then line your students up with cards and match the players to team sheets. You'll all be happy at that point and then agree, and then you can complete it on the app. I can view when this is done down to the minute, so I know if it's done before or after the fixture. And then if you're not happy, fill out that playing under protest form. Again, in all the packs you've got, there's a playing under protest form as well. So going on to the away trip forms. So when you go for an away fixture, you'll always have a pack of forms to sign just behind Brailsford's reception. The first one is this trip form, and it's pretty simple. So in the other box in the top left is all the information I'll complete. It's just standard fixture information. So who you're playing, where you're playing, what time you're leaving. The blue box, you guys need to complete each team member, and their emergency contact number, but please make sure this isn't someone on the bus. So it's not just your mate sat next to you. And then the red box, you guys need to complete this. Please aim to have at least 2 first aiders with you for each team, so that if the first aider gets injured, someone can do first aid on themselves. And then the green box towards the bottom left, that's if you've hired an SU minibus. You're more than welcome to hire those out fixtures this year, but please let me or Will know at least 2 weeks before so we can cancel any arranged transport. And then finally, once you finish that form, sign in the black box at the bottom. Team sheet again, so this is always in your away pack with you. It's just reminder that you need to complete that if BUCS plays down. And then playing under protest form. So hopefully we won't have too many of these, but this is your right to say this game's not being fair, something's wrong and we don't want to play under these conditions. So if you suspect any breach of either the BUCS general regulations or your own sport-specific regs, then this is what this form is for. At the first instinct you suspect something's not right, please ring me and we can discuss if this is the right course of action. It could be something like the goals are too small. That's pretty obvious. That's not good enough. Or it could be like a small little break of the regs. And then most of the time we aim not to use this and just try and get the game played. If we do decide to do a PUP form, then fill it out as much detail as you can. Leave the regulation numbers out if you don't know them. I can fill that in at a later date. But always try and fill it in as much information as you can to help with myself. And then if it goes to appeal, the BUCS staff know what happened and how that's directly affected your result. Again, you need to then sign and timestamp when you've done this form. And again, it can be during a fixture as well if needs be. But once again, the captain cannot refuse to sign it. You ask them, they'll say no most of the time. And so you have to do. If they still don't want to, ring me and I'll give the rest of you a little bit of a nudge. It's also worth noting that just because you've completed this form doesn't mean that by any stretch that you're going to automatically get the win. It's just sort of a best case scenario. It's like, well, we've not won the game, something's gone wrong. Can we try to sort it out? But most of the time, we'll aim not to submit an appeal, so you won't necessarily get the win. Then finally, on the away trip, this is what is expected of you. So first thing, make sure all your players get on the correct bus at the correct time. On that Friday fixturing email, you will get your bus departure time, so please make sure you get to Bristol at least half an hour before that as your meeting point, because people will be late and gives you adequate time to make sure you've got all your equipment and you filled out that form correctly. If you cannot field a team for an away fixture, please let me know at the soonest opportunity. This is to avoid walkover penalties. If you give me at least 2 weeks' notice, I might be able to do something about it. But anything less than 2 weeks, I've got no chance of arranging a fixture. Ideally, reading week is not an excuse. It's not a valid reason to move fixtures. However, if you do know you're going to really struggle for numbers during reading week, please let me know within the next week, and I'll try and get it changed. Like Rugby League did theirs for about a month in advance, so we managed to sort that. Complete all the forms, so please make sure you complete that trick form especially, and then hand it into Barossa reception. They'll make a photocopy of it for our records. And then just remember, when you're on the away trip, you are representing us as a university, so you're expected to follow good practice, especially no drinking on the way bus travel, because that is still legal, and there's no tolerance to inappropriate behaviour. Most importantly, enjoy it. You only get about 15 or so away days, and I know it's probably some of my best days in uni. And all this information has come out of your BUCS sport participation agreement, which you've all signed over Teams. BUCS affiliations. So I should have sent all information out to each of you specifically, but each BUCS need everyone to affiliate in various different ways to a national governing body to be able to compete throughout the season. There's usually 3 types of affiliations that you may do. So club affiliations, the pretty standard ones to say England FA needs you to sign up to FA, so you're affiliated club. That's pretty simple. We do that. If there's a fee to be paid and it's required by BUCS, then the AU will cover it. But if it's just you can do it, then it probably has to come out of your own pocket. There's an individual membership. So this is where the individual needs to compete and needs to be signed up. So Rugby Union needs to be signed up to the game day management system in order to compete, but this is free of charge. Some clubs do need that and others don't. So again, it's all online if you need it. And then finally, some teams need ranking lists or actually data to be submitted. So your racket sports tend to have a ranking list of who's your number 1 seed, who's your number 10 seed, and so on. And then other clubs like lacrosse and basketball need to submit like 2 or 3 qualified officials in the case that we can't get any. There are really, really strict deadlines and severe sanctions for failing to meet these deadlines, and they're all BUCS generated. I think if you miss deadlines, it's pretty much always a £250 fine, and you won't be able to play until you're affiliated properly. So with 2 weeks to go, please make sure you're on it. I'll be sending emails around the next week. That's sort of the key thing to take away from today. To end, I'm just going to go through a bit of the Brailsford operational procedure. So if you train either at Brailsford, Trevor, or normal sites, then you're expected to just sort of go by these guidelines. So label all of your equipment, your own club's names, especially in that AU cupboard under the stairs, because there's loads of stuff everywhere. So make sure your own equipment is clearly labelled, and make sure equipment is set up properly. And if you're not sure how to do that, please speak to staff members on site, because they're more than happy to help you show you how to do it. Storage, so make sure your storage and equipment is all stored away in the correct spot and also neatly. Make sure it's out of the way of all fire access as well, especially down at normal site. That can be a bit of an issue. And then if you have to use keys to sign in out, make sure they are signed out correctly with the correct forms of browser reception. The times of your sessions. So sessions start at either 10 past or 22 the hour, depending on where you are. So say you've got one from 4 o'clock, your sessions will start at 10 past 4 to give us or yourselves 10 minutes to set up. So just make sure that other clubs know that. And then please make sure that also you leave the facility on time so the people after you can stay on time. If you need extra training or change of facility requests, that these guys have, all these have to come from either Will or Lewis and then come out to myself and Jan and we can deal with it. It's a bit of a long-winded process, but if you keep all requests to Will, then we can get past it properly. If you use either of the 3 sites as a training club, you should have had an induction already by Julia or Lee. If you haven't, they'll be around soon. Essentially some 5-minute chats and some key information. And then if you've got any questions, please let me know. If not, these are some useful links for you guys to know. So you've got the general rules and regs, you've got your sport specific regs, which is what I've included in your packs, team sheets and playing the protest forms, and then books play.